What's up, fam? Hey, I was thinking about something today. Um, for Practical Moments with Will, episode 5, I want to talk about how I don't think we talk honestly about marriage pressure. We've been talking a lot about pressure, internal pressure, and things of that nature. But I don't think that we truly speak honestly about the pressures that come with marriage. Okay. So when I talk about pressures, I'm talking about things like expectations um, that come with marriage that sometimes can bring a lot of pressure into someone's life. Silence, sometimes silence in marriage um, can bring a lot of pressure. Um, and really, just the whole strain that nobody ever posts about on social media. Okay. So let's get at it. Once again, my name is Will, and welcome to Practical Moments with Will. At this, little talk that I be having, we really focus on real life. Uh, we focus on real faith, and we try to do it with no real filter. Okay, just try to keep it raw and quick and honest. So let's get into it. Okay. Now, I don't think we really talk honestly about marriage pressure. Not the conflict, not arguments, but pressure, you know? And when I say pressure, I'm talking about that quiet kind of pressure, the kind that comes from expectations that you may not even know are there, okay? Those could be spoken and those can be unspoken. See, family, what no one really discusses is that marriage actually adds weight to life, okay? And I'm not saying that it's a bad weight, but it's a very real weight, okay? Let's talk about that weight. So that weight could be bills. You're constantly trying to pay the man. Various schedules, especially if you and your spouse work. If you had a responsibility of children, uh, that's another weight that could be possible. And even the weight of history, if you would. Um, let's think about some other things like emotional needs. That's a weight in a marriage. And I'm not saying that any of these things are bad in and of themselves. I'm saying that these do add a little bit of weight to the marriage situation. And as a result, it can add pressure. And most of that pressure, it doesn't show up in the big moments. It really starts to show up in the moments of silence. Um, and what doesn't get said, I guess I should say, it shows up in the moments that keep getting postponed because no one really wants to deal with it. And what both people are hoping the other one will just notice, but they don't want to really talk about. And let's be real, it's because everybody kind of has bought into this idea of just wanting um, the quote unquote good spouse. And a lot of people stop being honest. They don't want I guess you could say they don't really want to rock the boat, if you would. They don't want to sound ungrateful by speaking about things that they know that they should be speaking about. Um, they don't want to start something they don't have the energy to finish. Sometimes you start a conversation, you're like, I can start this, but this may be days or weeks of dragging this out. So pressure starts to really build quietly. And to be honest, here's the tricky part, okay? When pressure isn't named, it starts to get interpreted. And what happens is that people usually start assuming motives. They start doing little subtle things like reading people's tone, They start filling in the gaps where, with their own ideas or what do you say, scenarios of why or what or how. And now what happens is that you start responding to a story instead of responding to a person. And family, that's how distance really begins to grow, and this happens even when two people deeply care about one another. So I wanted to talk about it because it was on my mind. So if this lands close to your home today, I want you to hear this. Okay. Pressure doesn't mean that your marriage is failing. Somebody needs to hear that because we all go through it. Okay. But what it usually means is real life is happening. And that's not a bad thing. And honesty doesn't threaten good relationships, but the truth is that silence does. Okay? You don't have to solve all your problems at once. You don't have to turn every feeling into a conversation. And to be honest, sometimes the most hopeful step is simply naming the pressure without trying to assign blame. Okay. And that's not weakness. In fact, that's really how the connection begins to stay alive. And I just wanted to give you that word of encouragement today, that if you're experiencing pressure, it's okay. Anyway, that was quick, practical moment from Will. I hope you enjoyed it today. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.